Hi, I'm Chuck McGregor, and I'm the director of the Parsons MILVET program, and I'm really pleased to have our very first RallyPoint video series. And what we're doing is we're talking to different Parsons veterans who are giving back, who are still engaged in service. But this time it's to our communities and different philanthropic endeavors. And our very first guest today is Gabrielle Quatse. And Gabby, thank you for joining us. From day one when I started in this role, everybody was talking about you, and I just needed to pick your brain on different things that were going good, and I'm just glad that I've been able to sound things off of you over the last couple of years, and you really got your fingerprints on our MILVET program. So thank you. So what I was hoping we could do today is I'll give a little intro about you, and then we'll talk about your Army background and what you're doing at Parsons, and most importantly, what you're doing to help veterans out there in the communities. And so without further ado, Gabby, West Point graduate, served in the Army as a helicopter pilot. Come on, deployed to Afghanistan once. This is great. And I'm just so pleased to have you here. This is great.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate all the kind words, and I'm happy to be your first guest. Thanks for choosing me.
Cool. So let's jump right into it. Tell us about where you grew up and how you got to the Army.
Absolutely. So I grew up in a small town in Mountjoy, Pennsylvania, and both of my grandfathers actually served in the Army. So from a very young age, I got to hear some stories and see pictures of my grandfathers and about my grandfather's service in the United States Army, both in the World War II and Vietnam era. So that from a young age made me very inspired to serve my country. I was also quite a tomboy when I was little, and so I spent a lot of time outdoors climbing trees and at the town fairs, always being the first one to run up to the pull-up and push-up competitions at the recruiting stands for the Army. So I had a lot of fun with that, and that got me interested in the Army initially to begin with. I also was very, just loved aviation, loved the idea of flying, and took flight lessons at a young age through a program called the Civil Air Patrol, which is actually a military affiliation that you can join as a young adult. And I just fell in love with being in the sky, so I knew I wanted to be a pilot as well. When I was a freshman in high school, my sister was a freshman in college and had a best friend that got accepted into West Point, and I kept in touch with him. He actually sent me the United States Military Academy's cadet candidate book. So I read that thing from front cover to back cover. And it was at that age I decided I wanted to go to West Point. So I combined kind of my love for those things and wanting to serve my nation and wanting to follow my grandfather's footsteps, and got accepted and went to the United States Military Academy in 2006 and graduated in 2010. That's how I ended up in the Army.
So tell us about your role as a helicopter pilot. Like, what were some of the highlights of your time in, and how did your tour to Afghanistan go?
Yeah, I think the biggest highlight probably was my combat tour to Afghanistan, deploying in support of Operation Enduring Freedom 11 and 12. I actually got out of flight school in 2011, and my unit was already deployed when I got stationed at the 1st Air Cavalry Brigade at Fort Hood, Texas. So I met my unit downrange, and that really set my career off pretty quickly. And I got to fly combat hours and become a pilot in command kind of really fast for my career, since I got that experience really early on, which was amazing to be able to get that experience and to fly, in an area where the flying experience is just very different from what it is in the United States. So super lucky to have served as a pilot for 8 years. I loved every second of it, but I also got some unique experiences as well, and I enjoyed every second.
So you went from pilot to where you are today in cybersecurity. That is a kind of a huge shift. Tell us about how did you segue from aviation into cyber, and and tell us a little bit about how hiring our heroes helped with that. But first, absolutely. The Army part.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chuck. So when I was in my aviation career, I mentioned that I got a really unique experience, and I got to actually serve in a position that was a branch immaterial position. So as an aviation officer, I actually got to fill a slot for the Army that was set aside for military intelligence, signal, or cyber officers. And that position was as a red team lead under the vulnerability assessment detachment at First Information Operations Command. And that gave me my experience breaking into the cyber and IT space, which obviously is what I decided I want to do when I got out of the military. And I'm so thankful for that experience and opening my eyes to something else that I could do when I transitioned, because I knew I didn't want to fly when I got out. I wanted to do something different and solve different problems. So I got my experience and a couple certifications while I was in that role, and I had a lot of fun, and I decided to transition out of the military in 2018 and to join Parsons as an engineering project manager, which is when I transitioned. But right before I got out, I got another unique experience with Hiring Our Heroes corporate fellowship program, where I served as a project manager in the information technology domain for Verizon Federal. And I got to do that for about 4 months before I transitioned off of active duty into the corporate space. So it was a great program to be able to help me learn what it is to work in corporate America before actually transitioning. And I'm so thankful to programs like Hiring Our Heroes and programs like the DOD SkillBridge that I know Parsons is now involved in, that help veterans transition from active duty to corporate America careers.
Yeah, absolutely. We partnered with the HOH and SkillBridge, and SkillBridge is pretty much our main effort right now. We're getting a lot of traction with that program, and Parsons was registered an approved provider of SkillBridge program, so that was a big deal for us too. So absolutely incredible, and hopefully this year we'll. Last year we had 6 total SkillBridge fellows, and we call them fellowships instead of internships, by the way, whether it's HOH or SkillBridge, just because of the amount of experience that the veterans bring to the table. We think it's a little bit more accurate to show it as fellowship, because the ways that our fellows are contributing is in the levels is higher than just a regular internship. So good stuff there. So tell us about what you're doing here at Parsons. What's keeping you busy?
Lots keeps me busy. I love what I do at Parsons. I've been very lucky to have leadership in our market, and specifically I fall under the cyber and intelligence market in the federal practice. But I've been very blessed with leadership that has allowed me to drive my own career since starting at Parsons. And so when I first joined the team in 2018, I started as an engineering manager, kind of in various different roles. I started out working alongside a technical lead on a project, helping a team of 60 developers get from start to finish to be able to deliver mission to the government. And I did that for about 8 months before I was asked to take on a more risky contract that we had just won, where I became a liaison officer. That also brought me into a new role of being a little bit more customer facing and less technical, which I feel like was a better fit, a little bit better of a fit for me based off of where I wanted to take my career. And then last January, in January of 2020, I actually stayed on the account executive team as an account manager for our DOD cyberspace portfolio. So that's where I currently sit today. And I'm also managing a small project for the U.S. Army government customer out in Colorado Springs. And I manage that project as a project manager with those qualifications as well. So I get to wear a lot of different hats. I love being involved in everything that I'm involved in. I get to do these types of things as well, which is always fun and keeps things exciting as well. So thanks for having me today, and I'm very thankful to Parsons as a whole for, bringing our veterans onto the team and helping me transition as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say, just in the last 3 years, from a women in cyber standpoint, what are your observations as far as just the growth of the number of women that are in cybersecurity roles? What have you noticed in the last 3 years?
That's a great question. From my observation, I think we're doing a lot better just in leveling the playing field and creating equal opportunities for all genders and races and just people of all different backgrounds. And I think it's really important conversation to have. I know Parsons is, spearheading the way and having these difficult conversations through our different inclusion and diversity movements. And I'm excited to see that. From the second I started, I always felt that Parsons was a great cultural fit for me. And it was something that I noticed even from my first interview with Parsons was that we were very inclusive. Just walking the hallways, I got to see kind of pick up on that climate, and I knew it was a good fit for me based off of that. But I've been a female in a male-dominated career path. I majored in mechanical engineering, which was predominantly male at an already predominantly male school. I was a helicopter pilot, and in 2013, I think it was, I had a male that said he flew with a female pilot for the first time. So that was quite a shock to me when I heard that, because I definitely didn't think I was paving the way there. And of course, in the cyber and IT and STEM-based careers, there is still a diversity there that's needed. But I'm so happy to be one of the people that is helping diversify and looking for that solution.
Yeah, I think Parsons really leads by example when it comes to its commitment to diversity and also just supporting underserved communities. That's one of my favorite elements of our mission in MILVET is being able to support different philanthropic endeavors for some of the not quite as well-known veteran support organizations that are out there. So that's been great for me. And I've just been very impressed with what, I know that you're involved in many VSOs, but I was really hoping that you could unpeel things a little bit on Vet Yoga and the Veteran Adventure Group, just because I think they're really super great missions. And of course, we'll also put information down below for people if they want to support those organizations or learn a little bit more about them too. But can you tell us about the mission of Vet Yoga and how you got involved with them?
Sure, I would love to. So Vetoga, I got involved in 2016 when I started when I found the organization, and their mission is to bring yoga, meditation, and healing arts to veterans, active duty military, emergency first responders in their communities. And the way that they do it, as I mentioned, is by hosting free classes for yoga and meditation throughout their communities. And then also by certifying individuals to become yoga teachers, basic level 200-hour certified yoga teachers to go back out into their communities and to volunteer to teach meditation, yoga, and the healing arts. It's a very inclusive group because we include everyone from the community, so anyone can be present for these classes. And Vetoga actually exists now in 100 different cities, has certified has certified over 128 teachers, and it's just almost global at this point because we actually have some international locations. So it's really, really awesome that they've reached 500,000 different veterans and community members with their either virtual or in-person classes or teacher trainings. And I did mention virtually, they actually partnered with Amazon Military during COVID to get a virtual teacher training and like yoga meditation challenge up onto their platforms via their website or Facebook. So we'll definitely paste the links below. So anyone that's interested in learning more about them or donating to the organization to support veterans or military or emergency first responders to become yoga teachers in their communities can do so. So I encourage everyone to check it out.
And on that, I got to say, my observation just being in the veteran, the corporate veteran environment here as the MILVET director is, I'm just absolutely impressed with Amazon and Amazon Military and the number of unique programs that they have and outreach that they've got and folks on their team. So shout out to them for just setting the bar so high and inspiring all the rest of us. Tell us about the other organization, Veteran Adventure Group.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chuck. So Veterans Adventure Group is a newer organization that I've been involved with. I've been involved with Vetoga for about 5 years now, and with the Veteran Adventure Group, I just started volunteering with them within the last 2 years. But as you might know, I'm really drawn to this organization because recently I've started taking up a lot of extreme sports. And so for me, I was really excited to find this organization that focuses on bringing extreme sporting activities and peer-to-peer networking through extreme sports to each other to help veterans kind of overcome adversity or trauma or anything like that. So some of the activities that Veterans Adventure Group does is that, you know, they could do extreme climbing, hiking, kayaking, skydiving, base jumping, just lots of different activities that they have available, scuba diving, kiteboarding. So it's also nationally recognized as a nonprofit. So lots of different locations you can pick up as well. So we'll paste that link below if you're interested.
For sure, that's really cool. And you know, and I guess I think about what you know, adventure sports for me means. I think it replaces something when you've been out in combat and you come back, and sometimes you just need a little bit of adrenaline, and once in a while, sometimes more than once in a while. But I just feel that organization, the Veteran Adventure Group, is really scratching a unique itch, and I think that's great. So I'm going to definitely look into them. Maybe I can link up and support them on behalf of Parsons too. That'd be great. Well, Gabby, you're leading from the front. We really appreciate everything that you're doing. You're giving back, and thank you so much for joining us today. This was great.
Absolutely, Chuck, and thanks for having me and allowing me to speak a little bit about my transition, my career, and also the nonprofit and service organizations that I volunteer with. I think they'll definitely be excited to know that we got to mention them today. And thank you so much for allowing me to share my story.
You bet. Keep doing what you're doing, Gabby. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for your time today, and have a great one.